To the roaring crowd, it was just another fight night. The smell of sweat and anticipation filled the air. They saw two fighters, two opponents, ready to battle under the blinding arena lights. But what they didn't see, what they couldn't possibly know, was the secret that hung heavy between the two men in the ring. This wasn't just another fight. This was a reckoning. In one corner stood the father, his face a mask of hardened experience, his stance a testament to a life of battles both in and out of the ring. In the opposite corner, his son, fire in his eyes, every muscle coiled with a desperate energy. They were bound by blood, but broken by years of pride, silence, and misunderstanding. Their story wasn't written in fight posters or pre-match interviews. It was etched in slammed doors, in phone calls that were never made, in words left unspoken that festered into wounds. Years of arguments, disappointment, and regret had all led them to this single, surreal night. It was a last resort, a bizarre, violent language they both somehow understood when all other communication had failed. The air crackled with a tension that went far beyond athletic competition. For them, this wasn't about a title or a prize. It was about everything. The referee gave his final instructions, his words lost in the cavernous roar of the audience. The two men touched gloves, a brief, cold formality. The eye contact was electric, a decade of history flashing between them in a single second. The son saw the man who had left, the father who was a stranger. The father saw the boy he remembered, now a man he didn't recognize, his face hardened by a resentment he felt responsible for. And then, the bell rang, a sharp, piercing sound that shattered the silence between them. The fight had begun. The father moved first. His movements were slow, deliberate, a chess master testing his opponent's defenses. Each jab was controlled, a question. Are you really here for this? Do you really want to do this? He was a seasoned fighter, his motions economical, his power held in reserve. He was reading his son, trying to understand the stranger standing before him. He saw the anger, yes, but he also saw the pain simmering just beneath the surface, the same pain that had haunted his own quiet moments for years. The son's response was the complete opposite. He exploded from his corner like a storm unleashed. His strikes were fast, furious, a whirlwind of pent-up frustration. He wasn't just trying to score points. He was desperate to be seen, to be heard, to finally break through the wall of silence that had defined their relationship. Each punch he threw was loaded with the weight of years of unspoken words. A hard right cross landed on his father's guard. That was for the missed birthdays. A swift jab to the body. That was for the empty chair at his graduation. A flurry of blows against the ropes. That was for every time he felt invisible. Every time his achievements went unacknowledged. The crowd roared, caught up in the drama of the young lion challenging the old. They saw aggression, they saw skill, they saw a classic generational clash. They didn't hear the silent conversation happening with every landed blow. With a heavy thud of a glove, the son screamed without a sound, "You left!" The father absorbed the hit, his feet planted, and his return jab seemed to whisper back, "I didn't know how to stay." The son landed a hook, his face contorted in a silent shout, "You never believed in me." The father parried, his eyes filled with a deep unspoken sorrow, a sorrow that said, "I believed in you so much I was afraid my own failures would hold you back." The first round ended. They retreated to their corners, breathing heavily. But it wasn't just from the physical exertion. The emotional toll was far greater. Their trainers wiped the sweat from their brows, offered them water, and barked instructions they barely heard. Their focus was solely on the man across the ring. The second round began much like the first, a tempest of youthful anger against a wall of weathered regret. The son pushed the pace, relentless, trying to overwhelm his father, trying to force a reaction, any reaction. The father, for his part, defended, parried, and occasionally countered, his movements precise but lacking their usual brutal finality. He wasn't fighting to win. He was fighting to survive, to endure this storm until the son had nothing left to throw. By the middle of the third round, the physical evidence of their conflict was clear. A cut had opened over the father's eye, a thin trickle of red tracing a path down his weathered cheek. The son's lip was split, and a bruise was already beginning to form high on his cheekbone. They were both bleeding, but the blood that dripped onto the canvas wasn't just from cuts and bruises. It was a physical manifestation of their shared heartbreak. With each punch, a piece of the anger chipped away, revealing the raw, aching wound beneath. The son's fury was starting to fade, replaced by an overwhelming wave of exhaustion and sadness. He looked at his father, truly looked at him, perhaps for the first time that night. He didn't just see the opponent who was blocking his punches. He saw the lines of age on his face, the graying at his temples, the profound sadness in his eyes that mirrored his own. He saw a man who was just as broken as he was. And in that moment of clarity, the entire purpose of the fight dissolved. The anger, the need for revenge, the desire to inflict pain, it all evaporated under the harsh glare of the arena lights. What was he doing? This was his father. Suddenly, the son stopped. He let his gloved hands fall to his sides, his chest heaving. The roar of the crowd faded into a distant hum. In the sudden, shocking stillness, he took a step forward, his voice barely a whisper, a fragile sound in the vast arena. "I didn't come here to hurt you," he said, the words catching in his throat. I just wanted you to fight for me. Just once." The father froze. The words hit him harder than any punch his son had thrown. His defensive stance crumbled. He saw the little boy who used to wait by the window, the teenager who slammed his bedroom door, the young man who looked at him with hollow eyes. All of them were standing before him now, asking the same question. Tears welled in the father's eyes, mixing with the sweat and blood on his face. He slowly, painstakingly, pulled off his own gloves and let them drop to the canvas with a soft thud. A faint, gentle smile touched his lips, a smile of profound relief and shattering regret. He reached out, not with a fist, but with an open hand, and placed it on his son's shoulder. His voice was thick with emotion, but it was clear and steady. "You don't have to fight me to get my attention," he said, his gaze unwavering. "You already have it. You always have." He paused, taking a shaky breath, and delivered the words that would heal a lifetime of hurt. "You already won, son." A wave of confusion rippled through the crowd, followed by a surge of understanding as they witnessed the raw emotion unfolding. The son collapsed into his father's arms, the sobs he had held back for years finally breaking free. The father held him tight, burying his face in his son's shoulder, his own tears flowing freely. There, in the center of the ring, under the judgment of thousands of strangers, they weren't fighters anymore. They weren't a father and son broken by pride. They were just two men, holding each other, finally, after all this time, starting to heal. The crowd's cheers were deafening, but for the first time they weren't for the fight. They were for the reconciliation. They were for the love that had finally, against all odds, won. Thank you so much for watching this story unfold. If it moved you, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel for more content that explores the deeper connections in our lives. We'll see you in the next video.